Hey designers, we're taking a break to talk about Design Live.
Design Live by Syncly is one of the design industry's leading software programs for kitchen design.
You may know them better by their former name, 2020, which has been offering professional design software for over 30 years.
And Design Live is so much more than just beautiful renderings.
From complete manufacturer catalogs that are built to save you time creating your drawings, to the largest community of designers for ultimate collaboration.
Which means your projects get designed quickly and accurately.
Design Live is developed for easy collaboration, and it integrates with the other systems to make quoting smoother and clients happier.
Book a demo with an expert today at syncly.com/HYDC and save $200 on Design Live using coupon code HOTPOD200 until August 31st, 2024.
That's CYNCLY.com/HYDC.
Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
I'm Rebecca Plum, your big sister.
And I'm Shaun Surha, your GBF.
We're not that hot or that young,
but we believe it's a state of mind that helps us build adaptable and profitable businesses.
We rely on the support of our design besties to get through each day.
So let's explore the emotional, practical, and humorous sides of being interior designers.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
We have some guests today. We don't do very many with two guests, so this is exciting. We have Jessica and Stephanie from Etch Design Group. Hi, guys.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for having us. And we're so excited to be part of the Hottie Network.
Yay. Well, we randomly ran into you at KBiz.
Yes.
I don't know. How did we even start talking? We didn't. Oh, because
we were getting our auras. We were getting our auras read.
Yeah.
Right. But I think because your name is similar to our friend Claire's business name, maybe. Is that what brought it up?
She's
Etch and Ivy.
I'm not sure what it was, but I did see that you guys had your Hot Young Designers Club, and I was like, what is this? We do podcasting too. What's going on?
Yeah, I know. We had a little chat.
Yeah.
That's the best part about those. So
it's like a random run-in every time we go somewhere.
Totally. Who are we going to meet?
Yeah, those are the best, though.
Tell us what you guys are all about and where you are and all the good stuff.
So Jessica and I started Etch Design Group in Austin, Texas. We are a full-service design studio. We focus primarily on residential, but we also do boutique commercial. And we celebrated our 9th year this year. So 10 years next year, and we're really excited.
Yikes.
And we have a team of designers. There's 12 of us total.
That includes both of you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a big group.
Yeah. Some days maybe too big. I don't know. There's a lot of us. It's really fun. Yeah, it's really fun and just amazing people to work with.
Did you guys start in Austin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the meet cute for the two of you?
Yeah. So we actually worked at the same design firm. Steph moved from California and I worked at a firm here in Austin. And so that's where we met. And our boss, she just kind of saw that we really clicked with each other. So she kind of paired us on our first projects together. And then after that, it was like, okay, it's pretty much Steph and Jess moving forward together. So, and we really are yin and yang, where Jess was really strong, I was lacking, and vice versa. And so we always just meshed in terms of what our tasks were too. You know, she would take one part of the project, furnishing specifically, and then I would take the remodel or new construction finishes side of things. And then from there, we realized we're really good at working together. We should probably do more. We like working together. Like working together.
That's the extra part of it. Of like, just because you can get through something doesn't mean you have the desire to do it with someone else.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. Right. We really balance each other out, which is so nice. And I think once we started working together, it was like, we don't really want to work with anyone else. So, you know, it was kind of the match made in heaven. And at that point it was like, all right, well, where do we go from here? So
how do your roles line up now?
That's a tricky question. Our roles are really different today than they were then. When we first started, obviously we were full-time designers and we were wearing all of the hats, from putting the website together to
marketing and so on and so forth. And now that we have a team, they are really autonomous. That's probably one of our favorite words at the office. So we have 2 design directors. They manage each of their pods. And we honestly have a lot of clients that we've never even met. We wouldn't even
oh my God, what did you
recognize them if we pass them on the street.
Yeah.
They don't know to call you with some random non-emergency problem that you're like, please, why are you calling me? Like,
well, and that's why I say our team is amazing, because they've grown with us through the years and really developed these roles with us.
yeah.
And now we're at a point where I really focus more on marketing. And I still do the initial client intake. So I have the first call with them, and then I assign them to the designer, and then they take it from there. And Jess's role is similar in terms of we both are on that marketing piece and building relationships in the industry, that sort of thing. But she really has been taking a very deep dive for many months now into AI. So that's kind of her role at the firm in terms of helping us implement efficiencies.
Yeah. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that because we've had many conversations and even some episodes where it keeps coming up and we keep talking about it. And I think what's really interesting about what you described is that it sounds like you both have the flexibility to have now be focusing on the stuff you are still interested in or want to do, and you're not bogged down by like the day-to-day design work anymore.
Correct.
Right.
Did you ever have that love affair with design so much that you were just like, now I feel bad that I'm not doing it?
Yeah, do you miss it?
We both had transition periods, and Jessica's came much later than mine. A few years into it, was pretty ready to say, we both love design. We both love design. That's no question. But things change over the years, and your fulfillment changes, you change, and we just needed different things. And for me, my family was a big part of that. And I had a really hard time setting aside the family to make sure that every last little emergency was taken care of right at that minute. And Jess and I took turns being pregnant. I got pregnant with our first child the month that we started Etch. And from there, then she and her husband had a baby, and I had a baby the next year, and we just kept taking turns.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out really well. But our roles just evolved, and we needed different things to be fulfilled. And so we still love design, but now we get fulfilled by doing our own projects. Like Jess has done spec homes, and we both have had personal projects of building our own homes or remodeling our own homes. And so we replace that client design interaction with our own.
Like you get the creative fulfillment somewhere else.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
So as far as the team building goes, did you already have that in place when you kind of decided to evolve, or did you have to create that?
I think we've built the bus as we've been driving it a little.
Sure.
I think.
Relatable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except sometimes it's a plane flying over open water.
Mine now has 3 wheels. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we both were really scared to hire, if I'm being completely honest, because you feel responsible for this other person. And we would take on interns, but we knew that was temporary. And so we didn't have to feel responsible for another salary. And then after my second baby, I remember Jess came to me and she said, I think it might be time for us to just try it. Just try getting some help.
Yes, agree.
And then ironically, we didn't even post an ad, nothing. We got a resume from a designer who was moving to Austin. And she said, I've been following you guys, and I'm just wondering if you would have a conversation with me about me potentially working for you. And we both read her resume and said, oh, she would be amazing. And she was. And then a month later, she was so great, we realized we should hire a second.
It's like it's like having babies or dogs. You're just like, this has gone well. What's another?
Jessica was about to have another baby, right? Like now it's her turn, so we knew Shade was in the
Why not?
Yep. Well, and then COVID hit, and as you know, those years were booming, and so we hired and hired as projects kept coming, and now things have leveled out a little, and we just built it as we needed it.
Mm-hmm. So you hired 10 people in the last 4 years. 5,
I think.
Yeah, about 5 years.
Yeah, like starting in 2019 and then moving on. That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are in each, like who's under each like design director then?
So each design director has 2 lead designers and a design assistant.
Okay.
And that design director also is managing their own projects as well. So all 4 of them within the pod have client time that they're working on, client designs. And then we have obviously Jess and I, and then we have a brand manager who manages the office, but she also helps us with marketing. She also does accessorizing for our projects, for photo shoots. She does wears a lot of hats. And then we have a finance manager.
Okay. Who's doing like the HR people stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question.
How to write performance improvement plan. Like
Yep. I feel like the HR piece just kind of, that's one of those also things that we have kind of trained ourselves along the way. But Stephanie predominantly handles that piece. And then I'm in the office, like I'm in Austin. So obviously I have to take some portion of that. Yeah. But
like some of the in-person behaviors because you're there. And did we say that? We said that.
No, we haven't talked about that
said
yet.
that. Stephanie is in Utah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that.
Jessica is still in Austin with like the firm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So shortly after hire number 1 and hire number 2, I had a little bit of a breakdown and came to Jess and said, I love what we do, but it's really the only thing keeping me in Austin. And I really want to be near family and have my kids grow up near grandma and grandpa and no cousins. And in Austin, we had to get on a plane to go see anyone. Like it would be days of driving to go see anyone. And so, so she, as an amazing business partner, said, we'll figure it out. We can do that. And I went, really? We can? How are we going to make that work? Yeah. And this was...
I wasn't going to let Stephanie go. That'd be crazy.
Did you think, Stephanie, that it was like, are we having a divorce conversation? Like, what did you think going into that was
I wanted to stay 50% in Etch, but I just didn't know how we would make it work. And so initially we thought, well, we'll start another division in Utah and we'll just have an Etch Utah and an Etch Austin. And I moved in 2019. 2020 hit and we were so busy in Austin. It didn't really make sense to take on more work in Utah because the team was in Austin and we were busy enough and couldn't.
And we all learned how to work remotely.
Exactly. And we all learned how to. It instantly made my job normal.
Totally.
Prior to that, clients were like, "Why are we meeting on Zoom? Why aren't you here?"
Yeah. And it was such a good education to like push that part forward at least.
Yeah,
right. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So now I'm in Utah and she's in Texas, and we
figured it out.
Yeah. Do you give a similar flexibility to your team too? Like if they are needing to work from home, wanting to, or like need to travel for something, do they get that same sort of blended environment?
They pick their own schedules. They come in at different times. They leave at different times. Some are moms. And so they want to be there for even things during the day. If it's an activity that their kids are having at school, they know that we are going to say yes. So they just keep us informed of what they're doing. And I think that trust is really helpful from both sides of us. Like they know that we trust them. And so I think that because of that, they're very thoughtful about it and we appreciate each other.
Yeah. Because it doesn't feel like anyone is taking advantage of something if they already know that they have responsibilities, but they know that they need to balance what needs to get done. Like I think that like when you said the autonomy of it all, like that really does add up very quickly.
But also you have the right team in place. That doesn't work for everyone always.
Right. And if they're going to work from home, they know that the standard is to just put that on. So they each have specific days that they work from home, and they're different depending on which team member it is. And if they need to switch work from home day, that week, or whatever the circumstances, as long as they're updating it on the calendar, they know that we'll say, fine. They don't need to update us. We just need to be able to look up the calendar and go, okay, can I schedule them for this potential client walkthrough? Or are they going to be in their pajamas?
Yeah.
So how do you guys stay connected? Like, do you have like daily or weekly all hands meetings or anything like that?
So it's changed a lot. It's gone in ebbs and flows. During COVID, we had a daily check-in at the beginning of the day. And then once things settled down there, we ended up going to a Monday team meeting where we would meet. And then since the design directors have really stepped into their roles and expanded that, they actually each hold their own Monday pod meeting. And then the leaders, so the design directors, the finance manager, and the brand manager, we meet with the four of them. So we actually don't have like an all hands on deck meeting weekly. It's really, we try to do it every other week. And really we set aside that time to either provide training or inspiration or something fun. It's not about going through the project list.
Yeah, it's not just like business only type of conversations.
Well, because the level of detail needed is like, you don't need the same level of detail as the leads do.
Right.
Yeah. That's amazing. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Let's just say it has taken a long time to get here to this point. I mean, we're in a business coaching group for a long time. And I think our story of how we run and operate Etch was always very different than I think anyone else that we talked to, even at our retreats. And, I think the common thing I hear is, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Like, we would love to do that. And then the second thing we always hear is, I could never not be in projects.
Oh, I could.
100%. I think I've been similar places. I know Rebecca and I have gone up and down the roller coaster a couple times where you're just like, what else would I just do?
Yeah.
That's not that. Or like just another designer that I was talking to locally asked me the other day, like, do you even want a bigger team? And it's like, no, because that designer has a bigger team and a ton of HR stuff. They're always like, there's always attendance, or there's like a behavioral thing because it's like the 20-year-old who's never worked in a professional job before, and you're like, yeah, we're not gonna, maybe we cuss at the office but not in front of the client kind of stuff, and you're just like, oh man, like I don't want to raise kids, like for her, I don't want to raise kids at home and then also be raising kids at work. And I think it takes a special personality to be ready, willing, and able to do that, and sometimes you're just not. And maybe it's a phase and sometimes it's not at all, but
yeah.
Well, and like Rebecca said, it also takes the right hire too, because we've had hires that honestly, there are some people who just don't work well in that environment. You have to be able to manage yourself and hold yourself accountable. And that doesn't work for everyone.
No. Having come from like corporate backgrounds myself, not everyone is able to do that. It's not even like a will issue. Like, it's not like they don't want to. It's like they do not have the skill to do it, period. So you can't even, like, some of it you can't even teach. And you're just like, I hear you want to be here and you want to do other stuff or move up to be a director or whatever, but like you just don't have it. Whatever it is, they just are missing it. And you're like, I can only lead you so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had to make any hard goodbyes to anybody?
We have.
Okay. So see, that's the reality too, is people, it sounds great, but you also have to make those hard decisions that you were worried about at the beginning of moving that direction, was being responsible for people and having to do what's best for you guys and the company.
Exactly.
So Stephanie, how often are you in Austin?
So it is different every year. The original plan was like once a quarter, maybe a little more. And then this year, I think I went maybe twice in the first quarter. And then I went back in June. And then my next trip will be next week, actually. So it's kind of worked out to once a quarter. But
like on average.
4 times a year.
And maybe the end of the year a little less because of holidays and...
Right.
Yeah.
And then typically we'll do some kind of a trip where we'll take a couple of the designers alongside Steph and I. Maybe we'll go to KBIS or, an event that's happening in New York or something. And so we still like to have kind of one-on-one time we've maxed it out at like 2 designers for the trips that Steph and I are there, just because we feel like that's a good number for us to really be able to have good conversations and it not be overwhelming with, 5 people there, 6 people there. So, there's always those trips as well where we get to be a little bit more, I don't know, just conscious on the time that we're spending with the team. And that's really nice too.
Yeah, and each other. I mean, that's how Shaun and I are, I guess. That's kind of our schedule too.
Yeah, we're about, on average, once a quarter, we're doing things together and working on stuff together.
Maybe like 2 industry events a year.
Yeah. But it is easier, like you're saying, it could suddenly turn into oh, great, we're just having a big reservation at a restaurant for all 12 people. And that means no one's really actually talking or connecting or feels like is this a good time to talk to Jessica about?
And then you're just like hosting a party?
Yeah. But I feel like if it was like your 2 design directors, like you feel like, okay, this is like a leadership thing we're doing. So they can bring up like, hey, I see some strategic issues coming up, or it feels a little more intimate to bring that up with the 2 of you than it would if everyone was sitting at the table and they're like, I need to talk to you about this person, but when can I do it? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm circling back now that I have a bigger full picture.
Yeah.
So you guys do not go to installs, like you're not on photo shoots? Wow. That's the part I would have a hard time giving up.
We're going to put the link to the website, obviously, in the show notes. But everybody, look at those portfolio shots. Like, your team is handling the business,
doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Sam, our brand manager, she's so amazing, and she has such a good eye for styling and accessorizing, and we totally trust her in any aspect of creative involvement there. And so it's so nice to be able to have someone that has that same level of detail on the finishing touches and knowing that something is going to be executed with the same eye that Stephanie and I would have without us actually having to be there. So to Steph's point, there are some clients that we've never talked to, never seen, anything like that. There are some houses that we've never seen until we get the portfolio pictures back. And we're like, oh, this looks amazing.
What a dream.
Wow.
Well, and as Jess mentioned before, it's a process. This wasn't overnight.
No,
of course. I don't want to make it sound like it's easy because we know it's not. And I know there are designers
or that you guys don't care and just like hand the keys over to whoever. Yeah.
No.
Right. But our role has really changed I always say that our clients are really more our team than it is the clients anymore. The team is managing the clients, but we are trying to make our team happy,
Mm-hmm.
That makes, your responsibility is not so much to the client anymore or to a contractor or a builder conversation than it is to keeping everybody aligned, keeping the ship going, making sure people don't fall. And I mean, it happens. Everyone has their, like you're saying, oh, I got to a spot where I hit this like breakdown point or like a real pinch point. And I'm sure people on your team have that same thing happen. And you're the ones swooping in to help them with that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also have another saying that I don't know if Jess appreciates this one or not because I love it, but that we're not in the business of plateaus, that our team wants to grow. And I think it's been a learning curve over the years for all of us to realize and come to the knowledge that we each individually need to grow and not just continue the same path for decades at a time. Like we want to feel different fulfillment. And so in order for us to do that, we've found that helping them grow in their roles or gain more leadership or change those things has been beneficial for their growth. And same for me and Jess. Like we may not get the same fulfillment of doing our job 9 years ago when we started, but that doesn't mean we can't have Etch. Like it just means that our role changes. And so we feel like the seats may change, but we're all still on the same bus and we're all on the same path. We still have the same goal.
Yeah. It's just timely. You're not the only designers we've talked to who are like, what next? Like, how do I deal with that? What's going on after this phase when I've sort of maybe burned out a little, not necessarily saying what you guys did, but others have said to us, like, I'm kind of hitting the end of my passion for this part of my business or this phase of my business. What do I leave it, or do I reinvent it or change it within it? Because it's like, what else am I going to go do? Like, I still kind of like this field that I'm in, but it's finding a different way to still stay within it.
Right. Well, and that's what led to AI, because Jess in December started these, without talking about AI, she started coming to me with these thoughts of something needs to change for me. And the seat needs to change for me. I'm not the same person. The role is different. I don't know where I fit in. What am I supposed to do? And just like Jess did for me in 2019, I said, okay, we'll figure it out. That's totally fine. And then a couple months later, she's staying up until 3 a.m. in the morning searching AI.
In a mid-journey hole.
She's pitching you a whole new business model around it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh,
we are also we've had some conversations between like Jessica and I separately about like, we're going to have way more ideas than we'll ever be able to build or execute or do or whatever. But like, someone's got to put them out there. And like, we're just like, between Rebecca and I too, there's just like, we have a lot of ideas. There's nowhere to put all of them. Someone should do something. Someone should do something with it.
Well, and they're not all good ideas, but you don't really know until you go. Like Shaun went down a deep, I flicked him an idea yesterday morning on a Sunday morning, and he spent the whole day.
I nibbled at it throughout the whole day. Yeah, because I was like, ooh, and then the thought wouldn't leave my mind. It's a TBD on what will happen publicly and what we share with like potties about it. But it's just like, the teaser is we both get really frustrated at putting together bedding packages and like helping clients visualize it better and all of that. And so we've been
kicking this around for a couple years and it can't solve it.
It's that idea, like it keeps bothering us and it keeps coming into our head. And every time we come into another pain point, you're just like, why is this not solved? Why is this so hard? And I think that's something that probably it's like in the DNA of creatives and designers, especially, of like, okay, I've had this problem more than once. So now how do I avoid it or anticipate it or make it easier?
Or it won't go away. Like,
it's not going away.
Not good ideas. They just die on their own.
Yeah.
Or that's like, okay.
A one-time solution is needed. And you're just like, well, we never ran into that again. So we're not going to change our processes in our business around this thing that's like truly a one-off. You take it as it comes kind of situation.
This is my problem, not everybody else's problem.
Yeah. So I think that's something that's really unique about hearing what you guys are talking about too, is this just like, okay, that thought won't go away for Jessica. Like, what do I do about it?
Which I think is also one of the big benefits of having a partnership, which we haven't talked to. I mean, there's definitely like conflicts that can happen. I've been in several. I'm in a couple right now. But one, I had my big career, it imploded in my face. So not the best ending to a partnership. And it's hard and it doesn't always work out. But I feel like you guys are really supporting each other in life and business, which is the major key.
Yeah. It goes far beyond business. I mean, Steph and I talk 24/7 about everything. Life, kids, husbands, work.
You have to.
Children, the whole thing.
Yeah, we're therapists for each other when you're in it.
Yeah.
Like, how can you ignore that other dimension to someone who's so close to you, before you have to say like, well, of course we have to consider our partners. You have to consider like vacation time. It's really
a marriage. Like, it's absolutely a marriage.
Yeah. Well, and we vacation together with our families. I mean, all kinds of things. It really is intertwined in all, aspects of life. And our husbands get along great together. Our kids get along great together. And obviously they're the same age group too. So it really does work out. And she's Aunt Steph to my kids. And, they don't know that she's not actually aunt, but in my mind, she serves as an aunt role.
You're legally bound.
Yeah,
that's more serious.
Yeah, a partnership agreement is almost, there's a lot involved in that next to just like a marriage agreement.
Yeah. Totally. Oh, she's family, she's family. So, yeah.
Hey, Hottie, if you like the show and we've been helpful in your journey as a designer, here's how you can help us and show your support for the show for free.
So first, rate us on Apple Podcasts. And if you're feeling extra generous, write us a review. All you got to do is scroll down on Apple Podcasts and the review section is at the bottom.
And it's really helpful if you share our show with friends, whether it's in a Facebook group, on your Instagram. And while you're there, you can also follow us on your socials at Hot Young Designers Club.
Yeah, thanks, Hotties.
Thank you. We appreciate it. It really does help. So back to the AI journey. Where did you go with it? Like, we'll talk about where you're ending up as of now, but like, what were you exploring initially?
Well, initially, when I went to Stephanie and I told her that I needed some new fulfillment in my journey, I didn't really know where that was going to take me. It was actually at KBiz. I think it was the beginning of this year. We had gone to KBiz with two of our girls, and I was really interested in going to this panel discussion on AI that I saw on the calendar. And so we kind of made a detour, made sure we made it over there. And I walked away from that panel discussion with I was really interested in the AI stuff. For 10 years prior to design, I was doing technology and IT work. And so I feel like interior design in general was just a really good transition for me because I loved like building Revit models and SketchUp. And like, I always liked the technology side of things. And so that's stayed consistent throughout my journey. But whenever I went to this AI panel discussion, I walked away from it with a lot of questions because I don't feel like it really answered to me like the tools that were out there that could really help designers. But it gave me kind of this spark of creativity of, hey, there's like this whole other world that you haven't even dove into yet. And it delves into this technology and, kind of IT front. And I feel like you should look into this. And so it just kind of stuck in my head. I got home from KBiz and I remember I put the kids to bed at night. It was probably like 7 or 8. And my husband was like, what are you going to do? Like, he saw me getting on my computer and I was like, I'm actually going to do a little like diving into some AI stuff. And he was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go play video games, whatever.
Not knowing
you're
starting a whole other startup phase of a business behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I am religiously one of those people that once I go down a rabbit hole, I don't know how to stop. And so the next thing you know, it's like 3:00 in the morning. My husband's laying next to me in bed. I am like tapping on his leg, like, you have got to wake up. You would not even believe what I just did. And I mean, I had created these like renderings and like done all this stuff. And he first was like, why are you not asleep yet? And secondly, like, stop talking to me, go to bed.
Yeah.
So I stayed up really late, obviously early that morning. And Stephanie and I share Apple Notes with each other religiously. And so I created this Apple Note and it was like, I went to this website, and here's what I did, and here's what it can do. And like, I mean, I just started making like note after note after note about all of these AI programs I was finding. And I shared it with her. And I remember I woke up at like 6:30. I really got no sleep that night. I woke up at like 6:30, maybe 7. And I text Steph and I'm like, have you looked at it yet? And she's like, calm down here. Like, what is happening? You got to like, let me at least wake up.
Yeah.
So, that was the start of a journey that none of us knew was going to happen, but I got so excited about it. And the thought of the potential of what AI could offer just from that deep dive that I did that night, I was just really blown away. And I really wanted to just share it with everyone. Like, that's how I felt about it. And that's where
I will say,
started.
Prior to KBiz, we had dabbled in ChatGPT and Google Bard, which is now Gemini. And we had, talked to the team about what you could use those two platforms for, but we were still pretty fearful of it. Now, there's still There's still fear.
Yes.
at a wide angle lens point of view. And there are some things that we're concerned about, but I think our minds shifted a bit in that journey of realizing, you know what, there's no stopping this. And if we put in our heels and we say, you know what, we're afraid the AI is going to take our job, or we're just going to act like it's not there. If we just don't go there, it'll go away. That isn't reality.
Yeah, now you're the people still using fax machines to place your orders.
Right.
Yeah. Like shaking your fist at the internet for taking your sales. Or...
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we both just saw the opportunity to maybe be a little bit more cutting edge in how we're approaching design. And honestly, right now, design isn't even really the main forefront of what we're utilizing AI for. It's really more the back end things. And we still have a lot of visions, and it takes time to implement things into the process, but there's so much more that it can do to just make things more efficient, that it kind of feels like what we've talked about already in terms of our roles changing. And maybe that gives us the leverage to then think bigger if AI is handling smaller tasks. And so there's still that fear component that I think a lot of people feel. But once you think about the potential, it really outweighs the fear, because there's no stopping it at this point. And if you jump on the bus, then we at least can strategize together, you know?
Yeah, like the fear doesn't get you anywhere. It's just fear.
Yeah. Well, and based on your experience in talking about this with other designers, how much of it do you think is fear of like lack? Like, I don't have the knowledge. I don't know how to do this. Like when people didn't know how to use a mouse and they were like scared of the whole computer.
Yeah.
Versus I'm scared AI and robots are going to take over the world. Like that's just something different. Like we can't really control that.
We were talking to a business coach last week, and he said, from talking to designers, the number one thing I hear is that they're afraid they don't have the capabilities to do it. And they're not techies like Jess is. And so it feels like something that's not attainable for them because they're creative, not technical.
Right.
When in reality, once you dive in, it's actually quite simple. And it's easier than most people think it is, but it's intimidating. And I think the unknown is always intimidating.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily, would you agree, intuitive when you start?
I think when you start, it doesn't feel intuitive. I think Jess feels it's intuitive now.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, even for me getting started, like there were trial and errors on my journey. And so I think that's the thing, is that we try and teach people that you don't really need to be fearful. You don't need to be a techie. You don't need to be, super involved in the technical aspects of how AI can work. Yeah, exactly. But really, like, let me show you how simple it actually is by, doing this or executing these processes. And it's quite simple. But I think that there's just a fear factor, but B, this thought of there's like a huge learning curve in getting started. And there's really, it's not as bad as people think it is.
And lastly, I'll say, I think that there's this overwhelming feeling that you have to take it all on. And in reality, all you have to do is just try one thing. It could be just one thing that you've heard about, that someone sent you on Instagram, that was an ad on Instagram, anything. Just try one thing. Explore that potential. You don't have to try every platform there is out there. You don't have to try every tool. Just pick one and see what happens and grow from there.
That's good advice. And I think people don't realize you're already using it. Like it's already integrated in so many of our things, like within the last 6 months.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, even before that, the decades before that,
that's true.
There were software companies using AI. We just didn't know.
They didn't have the little sparkle.
I know. Now it is listed on everything, even when I'm like, this is not what you're telling me is not AI.
I don't need AI to
it's like a
brush my
marketing
teeth.
it's like a marketing buzzword now where
It is.
a lot of tech companies are saying powered by AI. And it's just like, okay, you're probably using AI somewhere in your company, but that doesn't mean the thing that I'm interacting with is like, I hear you, but it's also become this like techie buzzword, which for me, I'm always the skeptic. Like I'm never the first adopter. And I'm never going to be giving something like this like the benefit of the doubt. So I'm always like, let me research it. I'm going to end up on like a Reddit thread. I'm going to be like,
this looks like a scam.
Yeah. Everything to me, my old like compliance brain comes out from my banking career. And I'm just like, no, this is too good to be true. And I think that is also something that I've heard other designers mention of like, well, but how could it? Or like, why? Like, that's too easy. Or what's the trick? And I think you hear a lot about these conversations. Like, I won't go too far down the controversy rabbit hole of this all, but it's just like yes, there still are but who owns this?
Well, there's problems with it still.
Yeah.
So it's like figuring
ethics,
how to work around it.
And trying to figure out like, I don't want to use a system that may be taking advantage of other information. And it's the hard part with all of that for me is just like everything that we've already fed into the internet is already being used.
Absolutely.
Even if we don't want it to, like our creative language, creative imagery, all of that is all, whether you want it or not, whether you use AI or not, it is still being used. Can I help shape? Maybe if I want to talk to like my elected officials and maybe help shape like what I believe in around that and direct like how do we protect artists and creatives? Yeah, I definitely think that's a whole other facet of what is now a very big industry. So it's just as complex as any other industry now because there's so many angles to it. It's not just AI as like this one entity or one thing we have to think about now.
Yeah.
So where do you recommend people start?
That's a good question. I mean, for us and our journey, I feel like ChatGPT is a great place to start for anyone. If you're not using ChatGPT, you absolutely should be. Like, period. For all kinds of things, whether that be.
I never like. I keep hearing new ones. I'm like, oh, create a 3-day-a-week weightlifting plan.
Yeah.
And then I said, make it simpler. Like, do less. And it totally worked.
It's ChatGPT can literally help you in all aspects of your life, whether that be your personal life, your financial life, your mindfulness life, your work life. Like, it doesn't matter. ChatGPT can literally help in every aspect. So I feel like ChatGPT is a great place to just start so that you understand prompting and even to clarify that, like, most people, they're like, what is a prompt? You know, whenever you're first starting out with AI, like, what is a prompt and how do I do that? Ask ChatGPT. Hey, I'm trying to learn how to prompt. What are the things that I need to think about? How should I do it? You know, how should I address you? Like all of these things. Ask ChatGPT. I think the thing that I try and tell people is you just have to play with it. There is absolutely, like, don't feel stupid talking to ChatGPT because it is literally, it's a chatbot. It's a computer, you know, like that's who you're talking to is AI. And so if you don't know how to interact with it, ask it how you should interact with it. And that's totally okay. So I would do it.
Oh, that's a good idea. I haven't thought about or ask it probably how to best use it as an interior designer and like get as more specific.
Or any, expert in whatever field it is that you're trying to.
It's a search engine and a research tool and so many other things. But I used it just last week. I had an inquiry from a client. And they're in a special neighborhood in Long Beach where I'm at, where like the development standards are a little different. And I happened to have known that going into the call of like, oh, I know what neighborhood this is.
Yeah.
But I was like, I wonder if ChatGPT will find resources in the local municipal code because the client was like, yeah, I'm not really sure. And, like, I don't mind answering the questions about their setback requirements and how much they can develop because I know some of it. But if I didn't, I was like, I wonder if ChatGPT could point at some of this because the city has tons of stuff. And I was like, I'm looking at a home like in this resident, it has like a residential code that goes with it that I knew already. But you could have even gone up further and said, like, tell me what development zone this home is in. And it would have been able to find that for me. And then I was telling it, like, what are the setback requirements for a property in this zone? And it was able to show stuff. And then I'm like, find me resources on like cityoflongbeach.gov. And it was like, here are 4 PDFs that are relevant to this. And it was like, swoop, and just like, here you go. Like, I don't need, they don't just need to read my long email. It was just like, here are 4 pages on the city's websites that address your exact questions. You know, and I didn't have to work that hard for it or memorize anything or create anything.
Or have the liability of the answers.
Yeah, like there's no written email from me saying, oh yeah, you can go up to 4 feet or this far.
Right.
Like it was just, here's the city's standard line on this. They already have a few web pages and some PDFs that reference this. And from a time perspective, I don't know, that was just a few minutes, but and it was for an inquiry. So who knows? Will it turn into something? Maybe not, but they get the sense that like, oh, look, he really cares.
Hours on it.
He's really got, or he's like so good, he already has this stuff for people. Like, I think it elevates the level of professionalism of how quickly we can find answers or resources and still be helpful, but also appear helpful to that degree. Like, it is nice to sometimes have the answer and not just say, I will find out. It's nice to just reply back right away and say, here's some resources.
Absolutely.
And I could have spent a long time on that or called an architect or someone. And that would have just been like, what? I don't even have a consult with you yet. So it was kind of nice to do that.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there is how can you make processes faster and more efficient through the use of AI? And I think that that's what we try and dive into and try and do for our design firm and for other design firms and other designers is try and figure out how to make things faster and more efficient through the use of AI. Like that's our goal, right? Whether that be in the, preliminary stages of like client communications and like you said right there, that's a perfect example. That's a potential client, but it looks like you spent a long time, to try and understand their unique situation. And really in all, actuality, it didn't really take you any time at all, but it looks like it did. I mean, we were actually just talking about this on the podcast the other day of, you could walk away from a new client meeting with the notes that you have for, what it is that the client's wanting. And, you could put that in Midjourney or Dolly, anything like that, and actually come up with a few inspiration images that you could literally send them the day of the walkthrough a couple hours after and say, hey, I was brainstorming these things. I was, thinking about these concepts. And I just wanted to tell you, like, I couldn't get out of my head. So I wanted to go ahead and just kind of send you some initial concepts of things. It shows to them that A, you listened, but B, you really wanted to take the time right then to get back to them and you worked on it after you got back to the office. And it might take you 10 minutes, but to them, what does it say? It says you're willing to go above and beyond. It says that they're a priority. It says that, you heard everything that they were saying. And here are some visuals to show you like what that could look like. And it's just inspiration, but I feel like it goes a long way.
And it keeps them excited.
Exactly.
Which is super. I've been watching this real estate reality show and he says, sales is the transfer of excitement.
Yes.
Which really was like, you're right. Like you have to always keep that moving and them pumped up to say yes to stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, something is bubbling. We're talking about getting more efficient. I don't feel like we talked about this at Etch Design Group. Are you guys flat fee or hourly or combo or like, if you're getting more efficient, you don't want to be billing less. So what does that look like?
So we are hourly, and I'm a strong proponent of hourly. And it's funny because you guys just talked about this on another episode. So I know where both of you stand and what you do right now, but I am hopeful that AI will get us to a point where it is easier to go flat rate, but typically for us, it's been really hard to draw the line when we have a flat fee. And and one of the guests that you had on the podcast said that she doesn't track her time. That's a big, you know what? You're probably losing money and you don't know it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So
I agree.
So we are
I'm
hourly.
sure I am losing.
But to your point, Rebecca, you also made the comment about how that helps you get the job. And we literally just before this call got a text message from a potential client who said what firm they ended up going with and why. And part of their reasoning was they have a flat rate structure. And it is a huge selling feature. At the same time, it's if I'm losing money on the job, then it's probably not worth taking it anyway.
Yeah, because it's more, at this point, it sounds like it's more beneficial to the client than it is to your business is the
100%.
risk. You want to reach a point where it feels like it's just as beneficial, if not maybe a little more, to you and your firm than it is to the client.
Right. We had one flat rate project when we just started, and we ended up coming out fine on that. But personally, my gut says if you're the owner of the business and you're doing the flat rate, probably okay. When you're turning it over to a team, it's much harder to say you have to stick within these hours. But as the owner of the business, we would say, well, if it means an extra site visit, I'm going to do that because that's
just me.
It's just me.
Yeah.
But when your overhead is different and you're obligated to making sure some things are being paid out, you're much more.
Everyone has to be profitable.
Totally different. Like I was going to say that, like it's different because it's just me versus like if I really had to pay somebody for the hours they actually worked, then I better be accurate with those.
And you don't want it to detract from what you guys get. Like even if you are not, I think that's like weird brain split of just because either of you are not actively working like in the design of a project doesn't mean that you are not contributing to the value of your business by doing that. So you're also trying to safeguard your worth out of that every time. And you don't want it to be when push comes to shove, there's nothing left for the two of you at the end of the equation. And that I think that could happen really easily if you're not really watching the number.
Exactly. Well, and the time investment hasn't changed. If anything, Jess and I work more than we used to. We always have kind of burned the candle at both ends, but I think that we haven't slowed down at all. I still work for 3 hours after the kids go to bed every night. And I know that that's not necessarily healthy, but that means I take less time during the day to work. So, we both still work our tails off.
Yeah. The phone never stops ringing or the demands are always there. There's always someone or something that needs your attention.
Yeah. But to your point, AI with the efficiency side of things, right now at the firm, we're really using it more for internal things, but we have plans and visions for taking it much further than that to make it more efficient.
For creating like visuals, client facing visuals and stuff.
So
like, without getting too specific of your
we're an open book.
Memes.
We'll share. So right now we use AI to take our elevations and render them. So we instead of selecting all the materials and then rendering it, we will, which I feel like someone mentioned this on a podcast episode recently, but
maybe Crystal.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We might render it 5 different ways and then show the client, here's initial design direction in terms of style, aesthetic, and it just gives a quick opportunity for them to give instant feedback and an instant visualization versus us going through the entire design palette where they see a countertop sample on the table, but they don't necessarily always visualize it. And it's harder to sign off than if they see a pretty picture and they go, oh, got it. Okay. So it gives us a little bit of a quicker response. And then we pull all the selections. So we're not using AI to date to design things for us. We're just helping it, like Jess said earlier, give us inspiration or help the client visualize something. We did talk to a leader for one of the AI tools who said that she thinks within a year they'll be able to take actual products and create renderings out of them. But for now, it's pulling random things from different places, or you can give it like, I want it to be marble or white marble, but it's not giving you the specific Calcutta that was at the yard that you saw,
Or like a fire clay tile in this color.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Right.
Is that in Midjourney that you're doing that?
So we use Chrome for renderings, and we use Midjourney specifically for inspiration, gathering inspiration for clients. And I feel like that's a huge tool to help streamline communications with clients based off of visual imagery. So we always ask clients to find things within our portfolio, or typically they come to us with things from our portfolio that they love. And so we could either blend those images together to create new images, or utilize some of the materiality or architectural elements from those images, and then be able to create new images that I think not only helps get them to deciding on what they like faster, but also I think it kind of pushes the boundaries of being able to create something that maybe you've never seen before. Like,
right.
I would have never thought about that arch there, or this or that. Like, it helps to kind of push yourself outside of the box of your own creative thinking and think about it from a broader perspective, because you're seeing something that you've never seen before. So I think AI is really great about that.
Yeah. Or like kind of the opposite. I think of something in my head that I can't find an inspiration picture of.
Absolutely.
And so I'm trying to piece it together in a way that makes sense to me, but the clients are like, no, I don't like that.
They're like, you sound crazy. Can we just do all white everything? You're like, no, please.
Right. They're just like seeing something specific that I'm not even looking at, and I can't make it communicate.
Or for instance, one of our design directors, she was asking me to help her, do some brainstorming on AI or with AI for one of her projects. And I said, well, what is it you're trying to get across? And so she had this idea of a bar in her head with a particular marble, particular color on the cabinets. And she had all of these elements in her head, but she couldn't find exactly what she wanted. She's like, I've looked on Pinterest, I've looked online, and I'm just not really finding it. I said, well, let's create it. So I was able to prompt Midjourney with all of these things. I told it I wanted a bar, I wanted backlit quartz on the backside of the eye, or the backside of the bar, and all of the elements. And I also said I wanted it to, be accessorized with like barware, liquor, all of those things. And I told it I wanted it a sketch image, because the clients, they're super visual, but they also tend to take things very literally as well. And so I didn't want it to be photorealistic. I wanted it to be sketchy. And so we kind of created all of these things, and we were able to come up with about 10 different inspiration images for the client, which in the client presentation streamlined things so rapidly, because they could see, okay, here are the actual physical materials, but here's a couple brainstorm ideas for you to be able to, see what this could look like. And
so smart.
Well, that's so cool. So are you, Jessica, now like the in-house AI consultant?
Yes.
Or does the team now do their own stuff?
So the team does do their own stuff. So what I've done, like on Midjourney, for instance, I've created 2 different pod servers. So one pod has this server, one pod has this server, so that it's not like overwhelming whenever they go on. I think eventually they'll probably all have their own server, but so we've got different pod servers, and it's really fun to go on there and see like what each of the pods are creating, because it's very different, based on whatever client or, project that they're in, but they each have their own pod server, and then they know how to do Midjourney really well. Like that, I think helps streamline ideas, so much faster for them. And they realize that. Chrome, I feel like I'm still helping them kind of understand how to use it. Because we can take our own SketchUp models, just a screenshot of it, black and white, no materials applied. Or if we have specific idea in mind of what materials we want, we can apply the materials and then take a screenshot, put it in Chrome, and then start rendering it from there. So that's super helpful. But I think that's been a little bit more complicated for them to understand, how it's used, because it's a mixture of images that you're selecting from, but also prompts that you can enter in. And so I think it gets a little more complicated there, but they're getting the hang of it. And I think that they've seen how good the rendered images are from Chrome. And they're like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. And is it faster than, like, I use Chief Architect and like trying to run a model in whatever. It takes forever. My computer's like, nope.
Like hyperdrive.
Oh my God. It's like basically just shuts off.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, so you could do that with a Chief Architect mod. It's just, if you said screenshot, it can be any kind of drawing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yep. We do it with our 2D from AutoCAD too.
Yep. Exactly. So if I have a 2D elevation of a kitchen and I just want to see what it'll give me, if I take a screenshot of that and put it in Chrome, it will render that as well. So it doesn't have to be 3D. It can be 2D. Very simple.
Doesn't matter what file type.
Nope. I always just save it as a JPEG and then I pop it in through that. So super simple.
And if you're a hand drafter, like sometimes it's easier for us to just sketch something than it is to try to get it on a computer. You can sketch something, you can take a picture of it, upload it, and render it.
Yeah.
And that's not even just rooms or elevations, but products.
Anything.
Like if you're like, I want to build this custom coffee table and I want to sketch out what I envision that to be, you can sketch the coffee table, the sofa, the chair, any product, and have it.
Our bedding idea.
Our bedding. I have some ideas whenever
we'll be talking later.
AI training. Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is that back to ChatGPT, there's a lot that I think most people don't even think about asking it. Like Shaun was alluding to, it's kind of like Google on steroids. And we've used it for some random things. Like, for example, Jess and I found this person on Instagram that we were like, we are meant to be friends with her. And we really like feel like what we're doing right now could so correlate to what she's doing. And we need to chat with her. We sent her a message on Instagram, nothing. I don't remember what other platforms we tried to reach out to her, but we went a couple weeks and I was like, I'm going to ask ChatGPT, can you find an email address for this lady? Bam.
Yes.
ChatGPT found the email address and it was hidden in some article. It wasn't on her website. It wasn't anywhere listed, but it was in some random article that's, out there. And we emailed her. She wrote back within minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think of it as a search engine. Okay. I gotta.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
There's all sorts of things that you can use it for. We've used it to analyze data. So without putting names or addresses or that sort of thing in, I've put in our records from over the years of here are when we get our leads. Here's how they came to us, so on and so forth. What happened to the leads after that? And then it gave me a full report. And I didn't say I'm looking for any specific information. I just said, what conclusions can you draw from this data from over the years? And it said, well, typically leads pick up in the fall. So you should expect that for the year. Typically you get your leads from SEO. So make sure that you're staying on top of SEO, all of these things that I could have analyzed it and drawn my own conclusions, but 100% I've always had emotion tied to it. So even if I thought that it was heading down one direction, I still would have probably said, well, I feel like we should focus on this. But ChatGPT doesn't have any emotion to it. So it can just say, based on the data, this is what you should do. This is what you should focus on. This is what you should expect. And same with almost anything, when it goes to analyzing data for you.
Oh, it's so fascinating. I know that you guys are starting to explore more of it through what is now your other business, AI for Interiors. So we'll link in the show notes to it. Do you want to tell the hotties a little bit more about what you have going on over there now?
How they can find out more.
For sure. So we actually are launching a series of 4 live webinars right now that will help people with some of these programs that we've talked about here. So Midjourney, Chrome, doing the renderings, also how to create custom ChatGPTs, because for those of you who know or don't know, you can use ChatGPT for just conversational purposes, but you can also create and train custom ChatGPTs to do specific tasks for you. So if you're doing something repetitively over and over and over again, or you find yourself asking the same questions or, want to get data on certain things every single time, the same way, you create custom chatbots. And so the third training is about creating custom chatbots and how you can do that for specifically interior design. And then the last one I think is super fun is how to create custom wallpapers and fabrics using AI, and then also how to print them. And so that one is super, super fun and probably one of my favorites because like I'm a wallpaper just nut. I love wallpaper. But those are our 4 live webinars that we've got coming up. And then we also have a free intro to AI webinar that Steph and I recorded. It was actually based on an in-person workshop that we did at a lunch and learn, a month and a half ago now, maybe 2 months. Doesn't even seem like that long. But we hosted a lunch and learn here in Austin for a group of local architects and designers. And I'll tell you what, that thing went so quick. We had 75 people RSVP'd that they had to like turn it off on the RSVPs. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But such great feedback, such great response. And everyone walked away from that training with, I feel like if anyone had any fear going into it, they walked away from that intro to AI training with a lot of excitement about what AI could do for them and their businesses. And several of those people have already signed up for our online webinars that we're hosting. So lots of good things in the works. We will obviously have actual courses that we'll be launching here in the next, little bit, but we're kind of focused on the live webinars just because people I find have a lot of Q&A, like questions that they want to ask. And so giving them the ability to do that real time where we can answer it for them as we're, diving into these programs, I think will be really helpful for people.
And your webinars you're going into like detail of like, here are some prompt ideas and here's the actual software to use.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll walk through it together, in Midjourney to talk about prompting. You'll also get, how to set up a prompt and, examples of prompts that work really well and what images came from those prompts and like lots of information to help kind of get someone started if they've never, done anything in the way of creating images either in Midjourney or using AI, really just trying to take the fear out of it for people and show them how easy it is to dive in and actually navigate. I think having someone kind of do it alongside you the first time is just super helpful. I've done lots of one-on-one trainings for design firms, and the feedback I always get is we were like so afraid of how to dive in and what to do. And like, it's actually way more simple than we thought it was going to be. So thank you. I'm like, perfect. That's what we want to hear.
Well, you're the one who stayed up till 3 a.m. Like, we don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that too. No.
Well, I think there's a lot of noise that you kind of have to cut through with AI. And if I can simplify it for people and just say, hey, if you're an interior designer,
right?
I know how you work because, we're obviously doing the same things. That's what I've done for the last 10 years at Etch. I know how you work. And so based on that, I'm going to give you the programs that I think are the most helpful for you to just incorporate right now, today, literally. And, here's how simple it is to do that. And so, you don't have to be afraid or know where to start or, am I doing something right or wrong? Like, I've already done all that for you. So
yeah, no, it's super helpful. Or like, I've tried it and it's come out wacky. Like,
yeah. Oh, and trust me, it still does some wacky things.
Okay.
For us too.
Okay, good. Not perfect. But
it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But with every, new update, with every new, I feel like with every passing day, like it's just getting better and better and better. So yeah, it's amazing. Really
and
is.
you have a podcast about, you have a couple podcasts.
2 podcasts. We thought we had enough businesses.
It's not enough. So with Etch, we actually started a podcast called 100 Lunches, which is just kind of a passion project for us. And Steph's in Utah and I'm in Austin. You can't just get together and, go to lunch with people. And so it was like, hey, like we still want to be able to meet and connect with people and kind of continue to grow our network. So 100 Lunches is kind of our way to be able to do that. So that's a fun one. But AI for Interiors is our podcast that is specifically focused around AI, for creatives, for designers, just to be able to talk about tools and resources and, kind of the ins and outs of the AI world for, I think really anyone in the creative industry for sure.
Okay. I'm definitely checking that out. I've got to do more.
Do you want to list for the hotties all the ways to find all of that? Maybe start with Etch.
Yeah, I'll let Steph probably knows how to get to the podcast better than I do.
Well, I think the simplest thing would just be Etch Design Group, like Etch a Sketch, ETCH Design Group on Instagram. And then you can get to anything else from there. The 100 Lunches podcast is on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And then for AI for Interiors, it's also the same handle, AI for Interiors on Instagram. And then same with the podcast on Spotify and Apple.
Yeah. Awesome. You guys are so ambitious. Like,
well, they don't have to talk to clients anymore.
Yeah, if I didn't have to do projects, I'm like, what would my mind be doing instead? Like, it really opens up a lot of possibilities to pursue so many other passions and ideas. And I think that's like really an amazing space to come from, that you guys have weathered the transitions together. And we know it's not easy. We don't need, this wasn't a podcast where we talk about all the challenges of a business partnership, but it's like, all the regular things that happen, just running anything happens in this. So I think it's really great that you guys have supported each other through all these different phases of your lives together.
Thank you.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
And thank you for sharing so much with us and with the hotties.
Oh, absolutely. No,
thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's actually fun to be on this side of the podcast instead of that side. So this is welcome. I love this.
Sometimes it's more fun being like the interviewee instead of the interviewer. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
To be asked about you feels way different than you constantly having to like ask other people and like draw it. So, but you guys are easy to talk to. So this was chill.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited it worked out.
Yeah, this is fantastic. All right. Until next time.
Stay hot, designers. Thanks for listening to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
For more on what we talked about today, check out the show notes.
Your support helps us grow, so share with your design besties.
And subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.
Our conversations continue on Instagram.
And be sure to download our monthly resources on our website and our Patreon.